What's up, everybody? Today we are going to take a look at the unkillable clan boss team. So there's a couple different variations of this. I'm going to show off what I did recently, as well as talk about what other variations that I'm aware of, and we'll deep dive into my current team comp and how it's working out for me. So I'll start off by saying what is unkillable. Some people also call it an immortal team comp. The basic idea is that when running against clan boss, you basically have to do as much damage as you can before you die. It will continue to ramp up damage. It gets a buff, I think, on the 10th turn, and then every 10th turn after it accelerates even further, and the damage keeps on ramping up. So eventually you will die, but some people have found out, I think it's been around for even before Ultra Nightmare came out, but it wasn't as necessary because it is a manual only comp. But you rotate unkillable or block damage debuffs so that the clan boss will never actually kill you. You will have permanent uptime of those two buffs, or one of the two buffs, in order to achieve as much damage that you want to one key the top chest. Now, I'll say there is a limit to the strategy. There is a hidden timer on the clan boss, so I forget the exact number, but somewhere around 45 to 50 minutes of decently fast play. The server will no longer recognize your attempt, and it will just time out and nothing will happen. So the worst thing about this is it's possible to spend 50 minutes autoing, or not autoing, 50 minutes manually doing this key, and then to have it not be recorded. So that's kind of the limit that's there. So a lot of times when you talk about unkillable, it's about, can you put out enough damage in order to one key it and not be at risk of hitting that. So talked a little bit about why it's good. You can one key Ultra Nightmare, one key Nightmare, and then like Auto Brutal or something like that, and get all your top chests with your 4 keys without buying any extra keys. We'll talk a little bit about what kind of sucks about unkillable. First of all, it requires very, very specific tuning. So a lot of clan boss teams do this, but one thing that I was kind of hesitant about is that you do have to run slower speeds for the setup that I'm running, and the champions that I use in clan boss I also like using in arena and dungeons, and higher speeds are better there. So I'm slightly gimping my dungeon and arena teams as compared to my clan boss setup for this. The other thing is that it is a very, very long manual. So we'll start off, I'll show off my first key from this morning. So this was actually my first attempt of unkillable on the void boss. I did 3 keys to practice yesterday against a force boss, which was really unfortunate since you see here my 2 damage dealers are both magic. So you can see this key took me 43 minutes of manual, but I was very close to one keying it. I actually mistimed this. I roughly thought that I was going to be doing somewhere around like the 1.5 to 1.7 million damage per minute, and I thought 40 minutes would be what I needed to hit 70 million, and I missed it by like half a mil, which sucks. And you can see I'm actually still alive here. I quit the the clan boss in order to end the run, but sucks because it is a lot of time. It is a very long run since you are running a lot of support. You can see here, Dracomorph does a crap ton of damage, Foley does some decent damage, Valkyrie does something, Maneater does something, and my second Maneater doesn't really do much. But since you are running these 2 champions just for the unkillable buffs, it does take a long time. So what do you need to run this comp? I'm going to talk about basically 3 main variations of it. The first one is the one you see here, which is what I call the double Maneater comp, simply because it has 2 Maneaters. I'd say this is probably like the best and the easiest, in my opinion. And why that is that you don't have to worry about the clan boss's single target stun attack. It doesn't mess up any of your rotation or anything, because not only do you have permanent block or unkillable buff up, but you also have permanent block debuffs. So none of the speed debuff from the force or from the green boss, none of the attack down, none of the other debuffs that come from the clan boss being below 50%, as well as all the stuns will just null out. And it's kind of funny, I didn't realize this at first, but if you're running a counterattack here like I am, the single target slam, seeing a counterattack proc off that because you have block debuffs, that just made me laugh for some reason. A second variation that is easier to set up but not as effective is you can do 3 unkillable champions, any of them. If you don't have 2 Maneaters, so you could do 1 Maneater, 1 Roche Guard, 1 Santa. Those are like the 3 main champions you see, but any combination of 3 of those should work. You just need to have better coverage in order to deal with the overlap. And once we go into the double Maneater setup, you'll see there's something kind of interesting about the way that Siphon, the A2 on Maneater, works in manipulating the turn order to make the 2 4-turn cooldowns have permanent uptime. So like I said, you can do 2 Maneaters, you can do 3 of any of them killables, and then there's one variation that there's a video that Kizzle put out a couple weeks back with Murder Inc. from Gods and Legends, and they walked through kind of this brand of unkillable that was founded in the clan, started by a guy named Najdu, and kind of carried forward by Murder Inc. And here I'll show off. This is a key with that setup. So this is Roshkard and Cernic, so 2 unkillables with the without having Maneater being one of them, and then Arbiter. The trick to this comp is that you actually plan to have someone die every single target slam from the clan boss, and then have the 2 unkillables up for the first and the second AoE, and then Arbiter plans to res whoever dies right after every single 3-turn cycle. So this requires some like super fine-tuned speed. This was like the first version of unkillable that I saw, and I wasn't actually too mad about this because I saw this and I was like, Murder, you're a freaking mathematician. I need to find like the meme with all the numbers floating everywhere, and it's like 247, 257 speeds across these champions. And again, like you're seeing 2 Void Legendaries and Roshkard. So like this wasn't that popular. I knew a couple people that were running this, but it was a lot of work to make it work. So one caveat on all of these setups is that Plarium has said that they plan on like changing unkillable in some way in the near future. And more directly, there is a planned nerf for Maneater that has been talked about on the Discord. So I know I just built a second Maneater, but I've had one fully booked and built for a long time for Faction Wars, and I also used them for Spider 20. And ended up getting super lucky in building the second one. And there's actually a pretty minimal investment. You'll see, I don't know if you got this right away, but the second Maneater is actually only 4-star and level 22. So I didn't put too much into this champ, knowing that nerf is going to be coming out. So we'll go back into the game and I'll walk through each of my champs. The main key to getting this work is to have both the Maneaters exactly the same speed on 191. So you can see here, most of the gear across all these champions is not great. There's like a lot of +8 and +12. I just wanted to see if I got this working, so I was just looking to hit the target speeds. I have not min-maxed this at all, so just having that out there as a caveat. Another thing that you can do to like min-max this further is build damage and like crit rate and crit damage on these champs in order to maximize the output you're getting, since you do have unkillable at all time. You don't need accuracy. You're not needing to land the attack down for Maneater. And you don't need any sort of survivability because you're going to have, I mean, obviously you see the level 22 is surviving, so we're definitely not building for that. So I had 100% crit rate on him previously to land the attack down in like dungeons and stuff, and I use this guy elsewhere, so that's still useful. Also useful for the damage, and I do have like decent accuracy to use him on Spider. But the key thing is 191 speed, so just fast enough to go before the clan boss in the first rotation, but slow enough such that it will not desync from the boss in like a 43-minute fight. Show the second, and before going actually, do have all the skills on this one, and then I built out to War Master. I just built down the left side of the offense tree. I've been like hesitant to pick up anything else here in the support side. None of these masteries will really give me anything else, and I'm nervous that it will like throw off my my speed tuning. And while this like Cycle Magic talent might be good for other things I'll use Maneater on, since this is like a 45-minute fight, I can tell that if I have this and my unkillable goes on off cooldown 1 turn earlier, then I'm gonna end up using it by accident and just screwing up my whole run because I'm so used to like, you see it's available so you use it. So haven't spent any of these other talents yet, but yeah, they're not needed. I'll show the second Maneater now. He's past level 22 today. You can see he is super decked out. I think I just started throwing random pieces of speed gear on him in order to hit the same. Again, it's the 191 speed, and to be honest, the rest of the stats were an accident. I didn't even level up the ring. I think I actually just leveled up the helmet to do like my +4 daily quest, like when that reset an hour ago. But the rest of this, I was just looking for speed gear, and he has no masteries. Then on the skill side, you do need to have the A3 maxed out. I got super lucky here, and then I think I have like 5 total books into him. So A1 more will like help you if he's level 60. Having War Master on him will help you because he'll do more damage in a shorter period of time, and you won't worry about going against that time cap as much, but nothing else here is necessary. So for the double Maneater comp, that's really all that matters, except for everyone else that you put into the team. You want to have somewhere between 192 and 200 speed. The tighter they are in terms of closeness to 191, but not quite 191, the better. And you're just looking to maximize damage. So thinking 3 champions who can put out the most damage. Only goal there is to put out damage in the time period, and knowing that you are going to be speed tuned. So you're getting 1 round, like 1 attack per champion per clan boss hit. And my first pass, what I did is I did a combination of like what I think would actually be able to get me to 70 million in 1 key, alongside of things that I felt less guilty screwing up. So Valkyrie and Dracomorph are like my 2 clan boss heroes that are ridiculous. So I had to put them in there just in order to get the damage out. Valkyrie's just there for the counterattack, and you can see I have her at 192 speed, so the slowest on the team besides the Maneaters, to maximize the counterattack. Built pure defense. I probably, if I was like min-maxing this, I would build some more crit and crit damage, but it's not super necessary. And what I did to get her ready for the slower speed is I think I just took off speed boots and put on some defense ones that are plus 12, and then I had a random weapon that I put on with a specific speed. And also you can see here like the glyphs are super helpful for getting these specific speeds and getting things like 191, 192, 193, because you can see I can leave some of these off. So like I don't have any glyph here and here, so if I needed to add a couple more speed, I could easily with like some level 1 glyphs. And then I did put some on in other places. So nothing too new intense here. Just swapped off 2 pieces of gear to hit the speed that I wanted. Next we'll show off Draco. A similar thing. I ripped off his speed boots for attack boots that have a little bit of speed and some crit damage. And then I took off, I had an HP or a defense chest. I put on an accuracy chest, since most of his damage is all in the poisons. Going from 250 to higher, I don't really notice it that much, but even at 335, I still see a ton of resist, which is kind of frustrating, but just threw on an accuracy chest and then some crit rate gloves that, again, I didn't max out because I'm nervous that if we get, I could probably take these to 15, but at 16, I'm nervous I'll get another speed roll and I'll have to mess with his gear. And he is at 195. So I think Draco is my fastest champ on the team. And lastly, Foley. This is what I'm talking about when I just picked a champ that literally I fused him. I tried to use him in Faction Wars, but I'm actually building like a Painkeeper to replace him with. And I threw on some other random gear. I think I have an attack chest piece and then some crit rate and really just random stuff in order to get him to the 192 speed. And then I try to just maximize other damage stats. On him, it's not really like noticeable with these stats. His A1 will like max crit for like 8Ks, so like 4 times 8K, which is pitiful damage, but he has a 4-hit A1. He does bring an attack or a defense down. And so with counterattack, you can see, I'll go back to the damage real quick. He is putting out okay damage. There's probably a lot of stuff that could do better here. I think the ideal comp here would have an extender, a counterattack, and either Dracomorph or a Zavia or a Nethril. So you have the combination of Giant Slayer, poison, counterattack in order to really maximize that poison up as quick as possible, and then an extender, just make it so you have like 8 stacks of poison, weaken, and defense down rolling at all time. Cool. So that's all the champs. That's the setup. Again, I think there's not too much rhyme or reason into the stuff that I picked, just looking to maximize damage and run with the unkillable. Now let's go a little bit into how to set it up. All right, so let's go off and see what this looks like in action. So we're going to have our 3 damage dealers go first, put up our counterattack. And then most of this rotation is just based off of making sure that we always have unkillable and block debuffs up. So when you start it off, first Maneater just uses A1. The second Maneater will use the A3, put up the block damage and block debuffs. And now we have 2 whole rounds of this buff up. Everyone is in speed with the boss, so they should only be going 1 time per clan boss hit. So 2 turn duration of these buffs should mean the next 2 slams they are safe. So we'll go through this next round will be just everyone hitting with whatever they have for damage. And it doesn't matter, these man-eaters are getting resisted on the attack down because we're always going to be running unkillable. I should be taking accuracy off of my man-eaters so that they don't land attack down, just so that I have more debuff slots for poisons and things like that. So now, the thing that was kind of interesting to me the first time I ran this was that we're now at a spot where the second man-eater went first in terms of casting the unkillable. Now I have the first man-eater is up again. If I cast unkillable here, then this guy will go again. The other man-eater will go again before the boss hits, and therefore I won't have full turn duration. But what happens is the siphon, the A2, so you attack the enemy, it says it fully depletes the target's turn meter and fills your turn meter equal to the amount that it loses. The clan boss, you cannot steal turn meter, but it does give you it back. So I use this, it gives me a bunch of turn meter back, but then instead of like going away right again, it actually lets the other man-eater go, and then the first one goes again. So it flips their turn order. So this is really important for two reasons. One is we get the basically like a lower cooldown on the A3. So while it's a 5-turn cooldown, we need to have 2 of them cycle at every 2 turns. Using Siphon once per rotation gives us an extra turn, which makes it feel like a 4-turn cooldown. Or you could say that the 2 man-eaters are getting 5 turns for every 4 turns that everyone else is, while still staying in sync with the boss. So we're not adjusting speeds in order to get extra turns. We're getting extra turn meter through the boost, and it's very measured on these 2 people. But yeah, super interesting. This setup was like a little weird for me to understand without actually seeing it and seeing these rotate. So we'll see this again where we have the 2 man-eaters are the only ones left with the unkillable buff. I used the A2 to give me some turn meter. The second man-eater goes, and then the first one that went this round will go again. And you'll notice that this cycle, it is the lower level. It's my 4-star one that went last. And then as we go through another cycle, it'll swap, and my level 60 man-eater will be the one who goes last. And we can just keep doing this forever. And actually, this comp that I have is not ideal. Valkyrie, I still have the lasting gifts buff, or it's not lasting gifts. It's the mastery that gives you turn meter when buffs expire. So I've run this a couple times. I've made it all the way through, I think twice, and 2 of the times that I've run this, she has died early because she outspeeds the team and ends up losing the unkillable buff. But it's not 100%. It's definitely not the best. I'm leveling up a Skull Crusher to replace her for this, but see there again, the level 60 man-eater is the one that went last this time. That'll keep alternating until we finish the run. And that's it. I showed a couple rounds just to give you a taste of what it looks like. Decided not to do any more because it's literally that same thing over and over and over for 45 minutes, which I don't think anyone wants to see. But I'll leave you with some final thoughts. This comp is definitely really, really powerful. I think the double man-eater version of this is the best out there. All the other comps will still work. It's just the amount of gear you need because you need lower speed, the amount of stuff you have to tune for because you don't have to worry about debuffs, and also having the output of the 3 damage champs because only 2 man-eaters instead of leaving Arbiter in there or something. But yeah, 32 million from Dracomorph. What a champ. So I'm gonna play with this for a bit. I'm not like all-inning on this. My big bet right now is actually to move champs into this lineup that I'm only going to be using for unkillable and not use any of my like S tier champs. So I want to get Valkyrie and Dracomorph out of here and have something like Skull Crusher and Occult Brawler or something like that. Needs a bit more work, but I'm still working on an auto-friendly 2 or 3 key Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss team that we'll follow the progress on in a later video. But anyways, thanks for watching. If you're still here to the end, leave a like or comment if you got any thoughts on this, and thanks all for watching.